The confession came on a Tuesday, quiet, unremarkable, and soaked with cold rain that slicked the worn stone steps of St. Elias Cathedral. I remember it well, not for its timing, but because it began with silence, not the usual hesitant breathing, or the shifting of weight, or the sudden rush of guilt that usually hangs in the air when someone steps behind the confessional veil. No, this was something different, something deliberate. Then came the voice, calm, smooth, almost disarmingly kind. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." I straightened in my wooden chair, feeling the chill creep through the thick air of the booth. The voice was wrong for this place. Too calm, too measured. There was no tremor of fear or shame. "It's been a long time since my last confession," he said softly. "But I thought it was time. I killed someone. I braced myself. Actually, I've killed 5. At first I thought it was a joke, some disturbed soul fishing for attention. But there was something in his tone, something in the way the words fell without hesitation. Not pride, not remorse. Clarity. The kind of clarity only a killer could have. I sat in stunned silence, unable to respond, bound by the vow that protected these sacred moments. He went on, recounting each death with chilling precision, as if cataloging the days of the week. Each victim was carefully chosen. Loners, drifters, people who wouldn't be missed for days, maybe weeks. "I make it quick," he said, his voice eerily calm. "Efficient. No pain. I'm not a monster." He described the places, dark alleys, forgotten parks, abandoned buildings, and how he had slipped in and out without a trace. Tones. It was like listening to a cold documentary narrated by a man who had long detached himself from human empathy. I wanted to ask how he slept at night, but even that felt like a betrayal. He gave just enough detail to make it real, but not enough for me to break the seal. And that's what paralyzed me. The seal of confession. A sacred boundary I had upheld for 2 decades. Once spoken in this space, nothing could leave, not even to save another soul. It was more than a rule. It was doctrine, etched in the very fabric of the church. Yet here I was, hearing the quiet symphony of death delivered with pride. "I thought you'd be the right person," he said, "to carry this burden. Since you can't tell anyone." His voice lingered as he stood. "I'll come back again. Soon. Maybe next week," and then he left, footsteps retreating down the church aisle. I didn't even see his face. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I paced the cold floors of the rectory, watching shadows stretch and twist as the city lights bled into the church windows. The sky outside slowly shifted from black to bruised purple, then to the pale pink of dawn. The cathedral bells tolled their solemn, metallic prayers, unmoved by the turmoil inside me. I kept repeating the same mantra in my head. It's not my place. The confessional is sacred. Justice will come through God's hand, not mine. But the images haunted me. The cold efficiency of his crimes, the lack of remorse, and, more frighteningly, what he didn't say. The certainty in his voice, the planning behind each murder, the confidence that no one would stop him. It chilled me to the bone. I started digging. Parish records, news clippings, missing person flyers taped to street poles. The names blurred together. A homeless man here, a young woman there. people who vanished without a trace. Most didn't make headlines. They just disappeared. "How many more?" I whispered to the empty nave. I placed trembling fingers on the cold wooden pews, feeling the weight of complicity settle over me. Was I now bound to his silence? Had I become an accomplice by keeping this deadly secret? "This is God's domain," I told myself desperately, "not mine." But the words felt hollow, like prayers cast into a storm. He came back the following Tuesday. Same time. Same silence before the first word. The rain was heavier, pattering louder on the stained glass above, as if nature itself was uneasy. "I was careful again," he said. "But it's getting harder. The city's watching more now." His voice was steady, but there was a flicker of something new. Awareness. Like a hunter who suddenly realizes the prey is no longer alone. "I think they found the last one." He didn't sound nervous, just resigned. "I think he was one of yours," the man said casually. "A volunteer at the shelter." My blood ran cold. I'd known Daniel. A gentle young man, soft-spoken, barely 22. He served soup to addicts and whispered prayers to dying men in alleyways. The image stabbed at me. Daniel, lifeless, caught in the killer's meticulous plan. "He recognized me, I think," the voice said, unbothered. "That's what made it necessary." I gripped the edge of the wooden divider so tightly I thought it might splinter. I wanted to scream, to rip the curtain back and demand to see his face, but I didn't, couldn't. He chuckled then, low and dark. "You're a good man, Father, and that's why I picked you." And just like that, the curtain shifted and he was gone again. After that, something inside me cracked. Not the vow, not yet, but my sense of peace. I started watching the congregation more closely, scanning each face for signs of guilt, fear, or deception. Was it the man in the gray coat? The young woman who sat alone in the back pew? The older businessman who always left before communion? Everyone became a suspect. Every knock at the church door made my heart race. I started keeping a notebook, notes, patterns, words he used, possible locations. I cross-referenced service schedules, volunteer rosters, and community events. I even visited the shelter under the pretense of spiritual outreach, but really I was hunting. Hunting for a shadow in a sea of faces. I considered installing a camera near the confessional, just at the entrance. Nothing that would betray the sanctity inside. But that too would be a betrayal of the trust between priest and penitent. And he knew that. That was his game. He wasn't just confessing. He was taunting me. And he was right. I was trapped. I couldn't do a damn thing without breaking the sacred seal, and he was counting on it. The final visit came after 3 weeks of silence. No confession, no murders I could trace, just silence. I feared he had moved on, maybe another city, another priest, another victim. Then, on a bleak, rainy Friday evening, just as I was locking the cathedral doors, I heard the slow creak of wood. Footsteps echoed on the marble floors, but this time they didn't head toward the confessional. Number. This time the man walked straight into the nave and sat alone in the second pew under a flickering chandelier. I knew it was him. There was no doubt. The room felt colder, He turned slowly and met my eyes for the first time, eyes that seemed too calm for someone who carried such darkness. "Hello, Father," he said, standing. "I wanted to give you something." He reached inside his coat, and my breath caught in my throat. I expected a weapon, a bloody letter, a final confession scrawled in trembling ink. But instead, he pulled out a plain white envelope. "Inside is the name of the next one," he said, voice soft but firm. "I thought maybe I'd give you a chance to be a hero." His smile was almost gentle, almost human. "But you'll have to choose. Save them, or save your soul." And then, without another word, he left. Calm, deliberate steps fading into the rain. I waited long after the door shut behind him, the echoes of his footsteps swallowed by the storm outside. Then, with trembling hands, I opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper, one name, one address, and a date. Tomorrow. My mind spun. If I acted, if I warned the person, I would be breaking the seal, betraying every vow I ever made. If I stayed silent, I would be allowing a man to die. I sat alone in the empty cathedral, candlelight flickering across the ancient stone and worn wood. Torn between damnation and duty, between law and justice, between silence and salvation. The confession was over, his last confession. And now, the weight of his sins and mine pressed down heavier than ever. The question remains, Father, what will you do?